I want to talk to you today about emotions and emotional mastery. This is such a huge topic and one that I personally have had such difficulty with in my own life. And it's only until recently that I've learned how to feel my feelings and move emotions through my body so that they no longer get stuck, causing all kinds of emotional, mental, and physical dis-ease. My intention in filming this video is to offer you 3 actionable tools that you can use to start moving through your body, these emotions that we all have a hard time, especially the ones that we don't want to feel, the ones that are of anger or jealousy, sadness, grief, or fear. I'm Dr. Jess Bell, founder of Energetic Osteopathy, which is a bridge between traditional medicine and energy healing. My intention is to return your body into a state of wholeness and place the healing back into your hands. So in this video, I want to start by talking first about emotions and what they are by definition on an energetic level. The word emotion, energy in motion, is exactly that. So emotions are these circulating energetics that we are constantly in a state of flow with. Now, we have this soul level vibration. So we all come here onto Earth and inhabit these human bodies. And it's a really challenging thing because our human self is quite dense. At a soul level, the vibration that we naturally emanate is that of love. It's a very high vibration. But when we come into a body, we have access to the entire range of human emotions. And emotions don't have a positive or a negative. We like to feel into emotions as either being negative, the negative ones being sadness, fear, rage, anger. And then, of course, the other side of that would be love, joy, contentment, bliss. And what we're talking about are different frequencies. So the denser energies, that of anger, for example, has a very low frequency. And joy, love, bliss has a very high frequency. When we can look at it that way, we can see that it's all a beautiful spectrum of energetics. But we're not allowed when we're young to really feel into those negative ones. We actually try everything that we can to not feel them. The challenge with this, however, is that energy is not something that can just be destroyed. It's, Newtonian physics teaches us that energy just changes forms, but it's a constant. It's always in our bodies somewhere. So when we have these emotions that are circulating around, those that we don't want to feel, they get into the fabric of our subconscious and they cause all kinds of problems unless we learn how to go back into where they're stored, shine a light on them, liberate them, flush them through, and then we can get back into a state of flow. Our body wants nothing more than to be in a state of homeostasis or a flow state. So this is the emotional mastery that I'm talking about. It's about objectifying emotions, observing the emotions, and not suppressing them or pushing them off to the side. Because if we push them off and down, they will always have repercussions down the road. So the next part of the video, I want to talk about the 3 different levels of emotional mastery. So the very first level here is really the novice stage of emotional mastery. And this is, we all have these people in our lives that are just really reactionary. They don't have a sense of self-awareness. And so you might, offer, maybe it's somebody that you know very well or from a distance. And, I have to say that this was me in my earlier stages of life. I had a lot of trauma that I suffered when my father passed away at the age of 4. And at that same time in my life, I was actually run over by a car. I had a lot of, the emotional trauma, I had physical trauma, and then just living in a family with such a tragic loss, it made it so that I cut myself off from emotions because it was really the only way that I knew how to survive this time of my life. And it took a long time for me to go back in as an adult and learn how to feel the emotions that I just could not process at that time of my life. So for the earliest part of my life and into my young adulthood, I was quite dysfunctional, and I was very reactionary. I couldn't take negative feedback. I couldn't handle relationships that would go sour. I just didn't have a sense of my own way to move these energies, these emotions through my body, and so I would deflect. It was something like, if you offered me some feedback, I would say, you made me feel this way. Like when you say that, it makes me feel that. So it was really about blame and victimization, and it was quite dysfunctional. I had a lot of really dysfunctional relationships at that stage of my life. Thankfully, I've evolved, and then I moved into the next stage, which so many of us are in. I'm still in a lot of the time as well. And the second stage of emotional mastery is what I call toggling. So toggling is when you have a sense of these emotions that I'm talking about here, and you have an ability to really own your part in something. So when someone comes to you and says, I'm really upset with you because when you said this, I felt this, right? And then you can own that. You can say, oh, wow, I do own what my part in this, because I know that I was feeling really sad when you came to me with this particular feedback, and I reacted poorly. And so there's just this more introspective piece where you can look at your own actions, behaviors, thoughts, and you can own that by looking to see what emotion might you have been feeling that wasn't really getting felt, and then you can own your piece. Or let's just put it into another example where someone approaches you and says, gee, I'm just really angry with you, and you get into a conversation about that, and you can have an emotionally mature conversation, and you can say, I feel. So these are more of the I feel statements. I'm feeling sadness when you share these things with me, and this is my part, right? Because we never put blame onto somebody else. That's really just that reactionary, I can't own this, I can't process that emotion that you're bringing to me, so I'm just going to deflect it and put it right back onto you. So a toggler is somebody who is able to feel into their part of the equation and is able to really have more of an observational role of their life. And so you're not ping-pong balling off of one another, but you're very aware of the emotions as they arise in your body, and you can catch them and own them and process them through. Now here's the exception to the toggler. When you're triggered, you then deflect just like you would if you were still in that novice stage. So what is a trigger? A trigger is somebody who activates a wound, an unhealed wound that's within you. So here's an example. Let's just say that you were in 2 relationships, and those relationships went sour, and you were left, you were abandoned by your partners. And then you're in this new relationship, and it's this beautiful relationship, it's a love relationship, and you go to a party with your new partner, and your partner has a conversation with another woman. Now you get really, really jealous because it brings you back to the prior relationships where you were left for another woman. This has nothing to do with this current relationship, but you have an unhealed wound from your past. You get triggered, and all of a sudden you get into jealousy, you get into anger, you get into rage, you get into reaction, and you blame your partner for something that he or she has no fault in whatsoever. And so this is a person who naturally has more of an ability to own their part of the emotions unless they get into that state of being triggered, and then they toggle right back in, right? So they're kind of moving back and forth between emotional mastery and emotional immaturity. And then the third stage of emotional mastery is exactly that. This is somebody who truly owns their emotions. So when they are in any situation, and it's no matter how challenging that situation is, they are able to take a step back as they feel the emotions come into their body. They feel sadness, they feel anger. They know that it has nothing to do with anything or anyone in the outside world, but it's exactly there. So they find the part of the body where they feel the emotion, and they investigate it. They breathe into it. They take the space that they need in order to move that energy, that energy in motion, that emotion through their body. Therefore, they're not reacting. They're not coming from a place of woundedness. They've worked through their wounds. They've done that part. Therefore, those emotions aren't getting stuck and activating those wounds anymore, and they can approach all emotions as they come through their system from a state of neutrality. So the emotional master is one that comes from neutrality and comes from the ability to observe the emotions as they rise, and all emotions are welcome. We get to experience emotions. It's a real privilege to experience emotions. And even when they're uncomfortable, we still, as a master, see that that's a privilege as well. We are not as comfortable until we start to work with emotions in this way. And then you'll find that anger is something that you get to experience, and you can let it come through you. You don't have to resist it anymore, because when we're young, we're not trained really how to feel anger. We're not trained in how to feel sadness. And so it's a very unfamiliar experience for us, because as I mentioned earlier, at the soul level, we just come from pure love. And so when we get into these denser energies, it's such an uncomfortable process in the beginning until we practice. So this is something that takes a lot of practice, which takes me into the third part of this video. And I want to offer you 3 actionable tools to help you learn how to master your emotions with greater ease. So the very first tip is that it's so important that you become aware of these emotions as energy. So that's the whole body of this video. So just by you watching this video is already going to be putting you into a much more advantageous position to handle the emotions as they come in, because we all have emotions. We can be going about our lives, everything's going just amazingly well, and then before we even know it, we're like face down on the ground with grief, right? Or anger or sadness or these more challenging emotions. And so what do? We acknowledge this is so. Oh, this is the emotion I'm feeling. As soon as you can label it, you objectify it. You remove yourself from being so attached to it. When we say, I am sad, we're attached to the sadness. We become the sadness. It overtakes us. We don't have any space from it. But instead we can say, I feel sadness. In this moment, I'm feeling sadness. And then it's just this wondrous experience of, what does sadness feel like, right? You can go into your body. What does it feel like, and where am I feeling sadness? And so that brings me into the next part of this, which is really the alchemy here. This is the energetic transformation piece. This is the largest part of what I do in my work. I work with a lot of patients and helping them process their emotions that have gotten lodged into the body in dense form that create all kinds of disturbances in the body, whether it's physical, emotional, or mental. And when emotions, energetic emotions, have been withheld for long periods of time, it just gets larger and larger and larger and rises up more and more to the surface of the body until it literally creates physical pain, degeneration, and dis-ease. So it's so important that we learn what I'm talking about here in terms of being able to find and mobilize these dense energies that have really come in from emotions that you haven't been able to feel yet. So let's just say that you are experiencing an argument with your partner and you feel anger. You are just livid by the experience of this conversation that you're having, and all of a sudden, and anger is a really dense emotion and it's a really challenging one to work with. So this is a real challenge for you. So you have anger, right? You feel anger. Where is anger? So that's number one, is just start to slow down and detach yourself from the anger itself. And the first thing that I encourage you all to do is just take some nice deep breaths. And when you breathe, bring the breath down into the lower abdomen, because that will activate your parasympathetic nervous system, and that slows all of the neurologic system down. When we breathe down into the lower abdomen, we literally are calming ourselves down neurologically. So the first step when you are in a heated discussion with someone, you're feeling anger, is just take some nice deep breaths and visualize the energy coming down into the lower abdomen, just calming yourself down. It'll give you some space from the emotion. Then you can start to work with the emotion. So the second step of that is Okay, where do you feel the anger? Where is it? And oftentimes when I feel anger, it's in the abdomen. It's usually in my solar plexus, which is the upper abdomen, right where the point where the rib cage ends and the abdomen begins. That's oftentimes where I feel anger, or possibly a little bit lower. You'll have your own experience. Some people will feel anger in their throat. It really depends on where you have your unhealed wounds. So you're feeling anger, and go to the place where you're feeling anger, and now you're breathing deeply. And so this may be a really good time for you to disengage from the argument that you're having, just so that you can do this process that I'm talking to you about. You can say, I'm feeling anger right now, and I know that whatever comes out of my mouth is not going to be very useful. So I'm going to take a break, I'm going to take a step back, and by taking a step back, that's actually another amazing tool that you can use, because when we're in an argument with somebody, we all have energetic fields that come off of the body, and our energetic field extends about 2 to 3 feet outside of our body. So if you're in an argument with someone, and you're talking to someone, they're angry at you and you're angry with them, all of a sudden you're actually overlapping anger fields, and your anger starts to build and their anger starts to build, and that's the crescendo effect that we often experience when we're in an argument. So just you taking a step back away from that person will disengage that augmented effect and will help you to calm back down and get some space. So breathe into your body, take a step back, pause, and then go into your body. Where do you feel the anger? And go there. Let's say it's your solar plexus. Quiet your whole body down and breathe directly into the anger. Try to get into the center of it. This is very challenging when you're really angry. So it may take some time for you to go outside, get into nature, go for a walk, cool down. And then I encourage you to go in and feel into that anger. Now, in the very center of any emotion is it's the light, it's the levity, it's the love. It lives right in the center. I see it as a kernel of light, and it sits in the middle of any dense pocket of energy, no matter what it is, no matter whether it's an emotion or a physical density that I find in the body when I'm working and treating somebody. But the very center of it is where you'll find the light. You'll find the love right in there. So we need to find the love in the middle of this, because love, the vibration of love, is the great neutralizer. There is absolutely nothing that can stand in the wake of love. So we have to access the love somehow, and it is right in the center of the anger. How cool is that? So go there. So go right in the middle of the dense anger and find that little kernel of light in the middle and find that love and breathe into it. And the second you acknowledge it, the second that you connect with that love, it opens up. It's unbelievable. It'll augment, and it literally dissolves the field of anger from the inside out. And now we have to flow. We have to get that anger density, that energy, to then move through the body. And so every single one of us has a column of light. It's called a central channel, and that's an energetic channel that runs vertically from the base of your spine all the way up through the whole spine, up through the top of the head, all the way up into the sky, right back down through the body, and all the way down into the earth. That's the central channel. And that's an energetic column that breathes energy into us continuously throughout our lives. So once we get into the center of that anger, let's just say, we found the love in the center of it, we breathe right into it, now it's dissolving and we have to flush it through. So what you can do at that moment is literally imagine yourself with a column that's going to bring that energy straight down into the earth. The earth is the neutralizer, and she is the healer. She is our divine mother, and she's going to help you to ground you and to receive the dense energies that you've been holding inside of your body that don't belong there anymore. So literally just watch yourself bringing that energy down. You can visualize the energy falling out of the center where it was once located and fall down through the channel back down to the earth. And now when you're down in the earth, maybe just a couple of feet down below the earth, imagine that there's energy that's rising from the earth, coming right back up through that channel and into the space where the anger once lived. And now the earth energy moves in, and continue that process of bringing the energy of the earth up into the place where the anger is. You can inhale that energy and expand it, and then when you exhale, let the energy, the dense energy of that withheld emotion, let it flow and let it continue on down. And after a while, you'll feel the difference. You'll feel feel that there's more space in there, and the anger will naturally dissipate. We can't talk ourselves out of anger, because once our mind gets hooked on it, it becomes a bit of an addiction. We have to actually let the energy of anger flow. And that's exactly how you'll do it with that step. That's number 2. And then finally, the last step is to really ask questions. Once you're calm, and once you've moved through the anger, then ask questions about, what was this? What triggered me? Now, you may or may not get an answer. I oftentimes find that journaling these answers is a really good idea, because once you journal, you'll find that you get into a flow state where you'll be able to have a conversation that's objective, and you'll get answers. Ask yourself these questions. What was this that happened here? What was this really all about? Was this because of the argument at hand, or was this activating something different within me that I haven't yet healed? And so when you start to get really curious about what initiated this within you, because I can tell you right now, it is almost never about the actual argument that you're having, and it's almost always about a wound that's unhealed, that is just being activated from your past. And so these are, when you can use the events of your current day life as windows into your past, then you'll be able to uncover these unhealed wounds, and you'll be able to transform your energetic system literally from the inside out. That's how this works. We have to go back into our bodies, find those old wounds that are now causing us to get triggered, and go into the center of them with the breath. Find the love in the middle and breathe it through. And the more that you can do this, the more you will literally dismantle these old energies that have been long withheld within your system, that are just waiting to flow again. That's how you return to wholeness. This is emotional mastery. So if this video offered you useful information, then please hit the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can get notified when I release new videos. If you think that you know somebody in your life who would benefit from learning about emotional mastery on an energetic level, then I encourage you to share this video with them. You can also go to my website and sign up for group treatments, and that is where I help you to mobilize these dense energies so that you become less triggered. You get an energetic osteopathic treatment in a group platform. It's an amazing experience, and it will catalyze your healing from the inside out. So thanks so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next week. Take care.